Well, hey there. It is 7:30 p.m. on the 11th of September, and it is time. And today, it's the 2021, of course. It's time for Cast Talks. Well, hello there, Playful. How are you doing? I welcome everybody back who's been interested in coming back and who's been waiting and who wants to be here now. I'm very grateful we could do this. Glad to see that you're doing good. So what is Cast Talks, you might be wondering? This is a show that happens every Saturday at the same time. And we hang out here for about 2 hours. I talk about good news, I speak with chat, and I play some animal videos depending on what mood I'm in. And generally, this is the kind of thing that you hang out. Ella, hello there. I'm so glad to see you. And if you'd like something in the background to listen to, or you have something else that you'd like to do with some nice sounding voices and sounds in your ear, or if you'd just like to hang out and chat for a while, this is a good place for you to be. And the good news, certainly that helps with things too. To recap our followers, which we had one over the week, we had Addison Blaine, who followed yesterday. Thank you very much, Addison. So let's get started. Today we have quite a bit of good news. Quite a bit. Here's some of the ones that we have. We have Good Samaritans rescue 60 cows from Hurricane Ida floodwaters. Firefighters finally reach deaf dog trapped in storm drain after 10 hours of trying. Tiny home village in Albuquerque helps homeless transition with social services and opportunities. And here's the last one for today. World's biggest factory to suck carbon from the sky and store it for millions of years. And it finally turns on in Iceland. But we'll get back into that and hear it a little bit. Tell me about your guys' weeks. Ella, Playful, everybody else listening, go ahead and let me know about your weeks. I'm more than happy to hear about them. I'll tell you about mine in the meantime. I haven't really been as active as I'd like to be. I'm still kind of in a little bit of a post-slump, because I was in a slump for a little while from changing medications. And it does take a while for whatever new medication you're taking to really work its magic on you. So I appreciate these things for myself, and I have to be gentle with myself about them, because it's very easy to not be kind and to want things to rush and to feel kind of a need for things to get better immediately, but they just take time. It's just another week for you. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that today's episode will make it not just another week. Your week was fine. You just sort of hung out and whatnot. Okay. Well, either way, I'm very glad that both of you have made it here. Same with everybody else hanging out in chat. I was interested in going to the animal shelter again, but I've had my reservations on doing so. I suppose sometimes my spirit is slightly too fragile, and it has been feeling fragile these past few days. Even though I was interested in going, I felt a deep pang in my life, in my need to help, but also in my need not to come face to face with the animals I'd already seen injured or wounded in whatever way you can imagine. And certainly I think somebody who has so much empathy and who loves animals so much can be at risk for finding themselves very easily disheartened at the risk of seeing that again. I hope, and maybe I know, that I'll get over it. I do hope it's soon, of course, but this is a tough subject for me and for probably everybody else as well. But I hope that I can, in the future, return to that animal shelter and go back to playing with animals again. it is an unfortunate thing, playful, but everybody gets wrong in their lives, and animals are among that. Seeing it is hard, and I have to worry about my mood being good enough to, I guess you could say, really be functional for the week. And this is something that Ginny and I talked about. It's tough to look at, but you can't fix something unless you can look at it, unless you can see it for what it is. And I think I will get back on that horse soon. It just takes some time, it takes some time and some learning. And I have a lot of time, luckily, and I certainly have a lot to learn. But that's what my week has been like, eating very well, eating good things, going and taking care of myself as far as going on walks every day, listening to podcasts. And I'm a little boring right now, I have to admit. I'm a little bit of a boring Cass these days. But either way, we'll get started on the good news here in just a second. So this is our first good news story, and it is the opposite of that thing that you hate. Though considering the world itself sometimes is abusive to animals, these is people coming in and fighting that. So Good Samaritans rescue 60 cows from Hurricane Ida floodwaters. And I'll show it to you guys. Get to use my little tiny capture box, the cute capture, you could say. Right there in the corner. It might be, oh my gosh, the writers of Good News Network are sometimes really terrible. This is by Judy Cole, so we can blame Judy for these puns. It might be hard to believe, but some Louisiana cowboys recently undertook a very different kind of cattle drive after Hurricane Ida left grazing lands flooded. And they've been using airboats to get the job done. Oh, well, that one slipped by them. We've got about 300 head of cattle out here that we couldn't get out from the back pastures in time before the storm came in. Being that it was a quickly developing storm, lead volunteer Derek Billiot told WGNO News, in storms past, Billiot routinely employed his airboat to rescue people rather than livestock. This time, luckily, since most folks who found themselves in Ida's path heeded advance evacuation orders, he didn't have to. So far, Billiot and his water-skimming crew have rounded up about 60 head of cattle in parish plague mines. Black mines, that's a very strange word for them. The exhausted bovines aren't always 100% cooperative, but at present, the rescuers are taking a no cow left behind attitude. Many of the stranded animals are mired in mud and trapped in marsh debris. The volunteers have been attempting to coax the heifers to higher ground when possible, but mostly they've had to resort to roping the flood victims and dragging them to safety. While this Good Samaritan-led cattle drive is a serious business, Billy can't help but see the lighter side of the roundup. Welcome to South Louisiana, he quipped, real rodeoing. Here's a video of what appears to be a man interviewing a cow. Certainly, these marshlands leave a lot to be desired, but those cows are getting out of it, luckily. Very good. I think that's certainly, I'm glad to hear about Mother Nature not taking more victims from the craziness that ensues. And whether it's people or cows, I'm very happy to hear that they're being rescued either way. You're here, you want to be in chat, but it seems like it doesn't like you today. Well, I'm glad that you're here regardless. Cows are fantastic, aren't they? Just try to... You are here, and I can definitely see you. But if you're able to chat, I'm always happy to respond. And I'm happy to see you as well. Hope that you're doing great. If you didn't hear me earlier, Daisy loves cows. This is Lily. I'm here now finally. Oh, well, hello, Lily. How are you? Tell me about your week. So, I hope that the rest of our cow lovers out there will enjoy that one. This one's a little long, so I might cut it. I might skip it a little bit. The cure for osteoarthritis could be no further than the end of your nose, researchers find. This is my Good News Network from September the 2nd. A cure for osteoarthritis could be no further than the end of your nose, as nasal cells can relieve chronic inflammation in the knee, according to new research. Doctors say the treatment could revolutionize therapy for a condition that impacts 8.5 million people in the UK alone. The cells originate from embryonic brain and spinal cord tissue known as the neuroectoderm. Co-lead author Professor Ivan Martin of Basel University in Switzerland described them as amazing. He explained, unlike the cartilage tissue in the joints, these cartilage cells originate from precursor cells of the neuroectoderm. The solution was right under our noses. I know, right, LA? I know. You sound like the writers from Good News Network at this point. They therefore have a distinct regenerative and adaptive capacity, or plasticity. Tissue grown from nasal cartilage cells seems also to retain these special properties. Unlike other tissue cartilages that cushion the surface of joints, they have little capacity to grow back in these cases, but osteoarthritis is the most common form of arthritis and can lead to damage. Now, clinical studies have shown cartilage cells from the nasal septum, the partition that divides the nostrils, combat the problem. Orthopedic and plastic surgeons took a sample from the noses of 2 patients and cultivated them in the lab. Nose samples. They then used them to grow a cartilage layer that was then implanted into the knee joint. The young volunteers had severe osteoarthritis due to misalignment of the leg bones, and they faced this by having a whole knee prosthesis. But following the implantation of the engineered cartilage, both reported a reduction in pain and an increase in their quality of life. MRI, which is a magnetic resonance imaging, in this case a scan that showed the bones in the knee of one of the patients were further apart than previously. This was an indication of the joints recovering. The other volunteer could only be interviewed for a subjective assessment. The bones in both volunteers could be surgically corrected, and the most likely cause of their osteoarthritis eliminated, said the researchers. They are confident patients will be able to manage with knee joint prosthesis, at least for some time. Martin said, our results have enabled us to lay the biological foundation for a therapy, and we are cautiously optimistic. Unlike knee traumas caused by sports, injuries, and falls, an osteoarthritic knee suffers persistent inflammatory reactions. Martin said, first we had to test whether the cartilage replacement was attacked and degenerated by the inflammatory factors. The international team initially tested human cartilage tissue in the presence of inflammatory factors. Experiments were carried out in mice and various other models. Martin said, "First we had to test whether the cartilage replaced was attacked and degenerated by the inflammatory factors. The durability of the tissue was also tested under stress and inflammation in sheep. Cartilage cells were taken from the nose of the animals and transplanted into their osteoarthritic knee joints. The tissue proved to be extremely robust and also seemed to counteract the inflammatory reactions. Further analysis suggested the effect was caused by chemicals fueled by osteoarthritis known as the WNT signaling pathway." The study, published in the journal Science Translational Medicine, found it was dampened by the presence of the nasal cartilage cells. In-depth clinical trials using the approach for the treatment of patellofemoral osteoarthritis, that's a tough one, are now being planned. It's caused when the articular cartilage wears out and the bone ends rub on one another. This causes a lot of pain. The researchers also aim to further develop the method for other types of osteoarthritis to treat a broader spectrum of patients. They pioneered nose-to-knee cartilage transplants, this sounds funny, a decade ago in 9 patients who had suffered sports injuries, falls, or other accidents. It followed successful experiments in goats. This is the first time it's been used for osteoarthritis, though. Globally, it affects more than 300 million people. It occurs when the protective cartilage that cushions the ends of the bones wears down over time. Osteoarthritis can damage any joint, but is usually found in the hands, knees, hips, and spine. Osteoarthritis symptoms can usually be managed, although the damage to joints can be reversed at the moment. Staying active, maintaining a healthy weight, and receiving certain treatments might slow progression and improve pain and joint function. So my father actually has arthritis in both of his hands. And I've had hand problems and probably will continue to have hand problems for quite some time. But luckily I don't have that. I just have to watch the amount I type and make sure to relax plenty and strengthen my hands by using them in normal ways like carrying groceries and things like that. And as long as you generally do the same thing, you won't have very many problems. My problem was really just playing too many video games, which is a problem I think anyone could get into under my circumstances. But certainly, though those video games did cause me some trouble, I made it here to talk about how much I won't play them anymore, and I see that as a good thing. Today's tea of choice is actually honey, vanilla, chamomile, which I've had a few times actually, but it's very good if you're speaking quite a bit. So here's our next good news story. Barnacle glue. I like that statement. Barnacle glue inspired MIT scientists to make a paste that can stop heavy bleeding in seconds. This is by Andy Corbley from the 3rd of September. Attempting to save some of the 1.9 million people who suffer blood loss every year, researchers at MIT are using barnacles as inspiration to craft a glue that can seal a wound in just 15 seconds. Oh, that's crazy. Barnacles are strange, old creatures which can glom onto virtually anything in the ocean, whether that's the smooth metal hull of a ship, the flexible porous skin of a whale, or the craggy surface of a rock. It was drawing inspiration from the barnacle's oil that the team came up with the potentially groundbreaking substance. Whether in an operating theater or administration of first aid, rapid blood loss is a hugely frightening situation. Wound adhesives tend not to work well with major injuries. They rely on coagulants, which can take minutes to work. Furthermore, they rely on dry enough skin to be able to hold a wound closed. Again, hardly the ideal situation. Hyunwoo Yuk, a mechanical engineering scientist at MIT, and his colleagues based their barnacle-inspired glue on the cocktail of lipids, fats, that the animals use before clinging to surfaces. This oil they secrete sweeps away contaminants and primes the surface for glomming onto, I like that statement, with a biocement that would otherwise not take as well if the surface wasn't cleared beforehand. When secreted onto a cut, it stopped the blood loss and sealed it in the heart of a rat within 10 seconds, and proved to withstand 8 times the breaking pressure compared to commercial alternatives. My overall impression of this material is that it's incredible, says Han-jae Wang to Wired magazine, a resident in Stanford University's cardiothoracic surgery department, who is not involved in the study. It definitely fills a need, especially in the emergency setting when you need to just get control. Another surgeon said she'd never seen anything like it in her career. There are still some details that must be fleshed out, such as how long the bond lasts. Ideally, it should last even after the wound has healed on its own. But not forever, right? And the toxicity levels still need to be carefully calculated. Another physician speaking to Wired about the trials brought up a problem which the glue solves that is simply not being met by any other product in the medical tech market. With aging populations, you have more and more patients that have either acquired bleeding disorders or are ultimately on blood thinners. The problem of bleeding and bleeding control is substantial. Christopher Nabsdik, that's a tough name, a cardiologist and critical care physician from Mayo. Dr. Yuk has an interesting way of looking at problems, reasoning the animal kingdom's principal task is survival. So whatever you're looking to do, heal or fix, there's probably an organism that has already solved it. His use of barnacles as inspiration typifies that behavior and could very well revolutionize the medical field. I like that one. I like the idea that barnacles have so much to offer us, right? I never would have guessed to use a barnacle as a band-aid, right? Never would have guessed. In the future, maybe even 10 years from now or less, people will scarcely remember the crazy things that used to happen when we didn't have barnacle spray to heal people instantly. Man, barnacles, am I right? If you had asked me, what would you make a wound sealant out of? I probably would have said like honeybee glue or something like that, but not barnacle glue. Not barnacles. I'm glad that they have other uses, though, than just being stuck to things. So here's another one. Clever cockatoos craft 3-piece tool set to extract fruit, becoming only the 4th animal species to do so. Truly astonishing behavior has just been recorded in a pair of wild Goffin's cockatoos, who, like expert bandits, manufactured an entire... You can still use leeches to heal wounds too, it's true, but I'm much more okay with a barnacle than a leech, I have to be honest with you. I'm not sure which is prettier. They're both not very pretty, to be fair. Somehow I trust the barnacle more, though I have to be honest with you. Like expert bandits, manufactured an entire three-piece set of tools to burgle their way into the pit of a mango. Oh my gosh. Caught wild and held for a short time in a research aviary in Indonesia, is the kind of behavior that typifies the most advanced tool users in the animal kingdom and solidifies the Goffin's cockatoo as one of the avian group's major bird brainiacs. Perhaps the most delightful part of this discovery was that it happened serendipitously while Mark O'Hara and Berenika Mio Dususka were studying a new group of wild birds in their research aviary on the island of Tanimbar. I just turned away, and when I looked back, one of the birds was making and using tools. O'Hara of the Messerli Research Institute in Vienna, Austria, tells Science, I couldn't believe my eyes. Before the capture of the canny cockatoos, O'Hara and Mio Dusiska had spent an eye-watering 900 hours watching them feed high in the canopy without ever once witnessing tool use. A few other bird species, like the New Caledonian crow and hyacinth macaw, have been documented making stick tools and even hook tools. Goffin's cockatoos are well documented as intuitive social learners that can solve a variety of problems and puzzles. The Messerli Institute has in fact shown how one individual was able to teach his mates how to craft and use tools. However, that was just one tool for one purpose. The new observation is the first time any bird species has been seen creating and using a set of tools in a specific order. While researching the cockatoos, the team would regularly provide them with food they found about the island, including the wawai, or sea mango, which is poisonous to humans but nutritious for birds. At the center of the mango, a hard pit protects a large, nutritious seed. For a while, it seemed there was nothing special about the bunch of birds they captured, but two individuals, upon getting their talons onto the pits, began to craft not one, not two, but a set of 3 different tools to work their way into the fruit pit. Repeated provisions of the fruit allowed us to analyze the behavior in detail and to collect and trace some of the manufactured tools, explains O'Hara in a video abstract. Using a structure from motion technique, we could create 3D models and gather detailed measurements such as size and volume of the tools used. Based on the physical properties, the function analysis classified 3 types of tools. We discovered that each tool type seemed to serve a different purpose. With a thicker section of branch, they would use their beak to push and pry open one end of the pit. With the second, medium fine implement, they punctured the membrane surrounding the seed. Lastly, they would make a scoop-like tool which, when maneuvered with their mouth, allowed them to extract the seed material. My gosh, these birds are crazy smart. This making of tool sets has been seen in humans, chimpanzees, and capuchin monkeys. Full stop. Chimps use between 2 and 5 tools for termite and beehive raids. Tool use has been proposed in the parrot lineage as having a strong captivity bias, so whether the behavior was tied to their stay in the aviary or whether they used tools in the wild is something O'Hara and Mio Dususka discuss in their research paper in Cell. If they had a genetic predisposition to use tools, all the birds would do it, O'Hara tells Science. Since only a few make these, it's more likely they invented them independently, which would be even more likely as the 2 individuals displayed immediate and exceptional proficiency. They believe that it is not species-wide, but acquired by individuals through opportunistic innovations. Oh, or by watching and learning from others. A number of intriguing details emerge in the discussion section, such as that tools tended to be crafted to specifications before use, rather than through a trial and error process. Okay, that's crazy. Another detail is that around the island they had found fruit underneath Huawei trees that appeared to have been foraged on with tools. One actually contained a wooden fragment inserted into the fissure of the pit, which, provided enough years go by, could be the first ever instance of avian archaeology. Oh my gosh. Wow. O'Hara and Mio Duseswa's paper is filled with videos that are stunning to watch and can be accessed here for free. You guys want to see some birds making some tools? Because we're going to look at a few of these. So here's this lovely cockatoo. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Look at him go. Wow. You almost can't see what they're doing because you don't, like, your brain is like, oh, that's just a bird messing with some sticks. But if you kind of know what you're looking for, then yeah, that is a that is a bird that is actually making tools and using them. Bizarre. I want to look at least one more of these. How long are these videos? Oh, this should be fun. Does this actually show them using the... Oh, it does. It shows everything. Okay, good. This is perfect. This is perfect. So check this out, guys. So it has the actual fruit that it finds, right? It's removing the shell so it can get to the actual thing. And then it manufactures a tool, and the birds somehow know exactly what they might need for this. It's like intuitive for them to figure out what they might do. And then they just kind of roll it around and get it to the right shape and size. And then they know what to do. I don't honestly say I could have told you that last week I would have been looking this week at a bird using tools to open up a mango. But look at him go. Wow. And then he just leverages it side to side and gets his beak where he needs to. He has the weight to force it open because he's got the tools in there. And he crafts them as he needs them. And then the scooping begins, the scooping. My gosh. Now that is bizarre. But I like it. I really like it. So, I don't know about you guys, but that's the craziest thing I've seen in a while. I gotta be honest with you. But if nothing else, I am blown away by this. I really am blown away. So, on to our next good news story, though honestly that's going to be tough to top. It's going to be tough to top birds with tools. So, in hurricane-stricken New Orleans, a solar microgrid kept the lights on in this apartment building for low-income vets. And this is by Andy Corbley from September the 5th of 2021. Another hurricane, another power outage. In the state of Louisiana, one apartment complex is keeping the lights on, a beacon of hope in New Orleans. St. Peter Residential, which opened 1 month before several world events began, built in that emergency functionality using an 8-hour solar battery and panel array on its roof, and it kept the units running after Hurricane Ida made landfall. At $7.4 million and 45,000 square foot, the building is the first net zero emission apartment complex in the state, meaning it offsets or removes as much power as it generates on site. Designed as a calming oasis intent on building community in a dense urban environment. The 50-unit mixed-income living spaces are served by a microgrid of 450 solar panels that generate electricity on demand, and stored excess power in a battery located in the parking lot. St. Peter was designed to cultivate a community with the inclusion of a wellness center for yoga and meditation and common event and outdoor spaces. This place sounds amazing. And importantly, half of the 50 units, 29 affordable apartments and 21 market rate units, are reserved for veterans. The microgrid has now seen 3 storms. Hurricane Zeta, which took out power in the area last October, Winter Storm Uri, which resulted in the same thing, and now Hurricane Ida. Lauren Amioli is the Director of Housing Development for the nonprofit SBP, which oversaw the funding and construction of St. Peter. SBP, named after St. Bernard Project, was founded by Zach Rosenberg and Liz McCartney after the couple, now married, volunteered in the St. Bernard Parish following the devastation wrought by Hurricane Katrina. Since then, SBP has rebuilt homes for more than 2,000 families and hired Eskew Dumas Ripple as the architect to design this innovative complex that provides residents with extremely low energy bills. It's not just post-disaster emergency power, Avioli told Fast Company magazine. It's also helping people at the property save money on a blue sky day because we can use some of the energy that's being generated by the powers or by the solar panels to run the building. It doesn't work all the time. However, for example, on Tuesdays when the power went off, it was cloudy, and the system couldn't deliver as much electricity as the building managers would have hoped for. But the days after were sunny and powerless in New Orleans, except for St. Peter's tenants, many of whom have transitioned from lower income housing or even from homelessness. SBP believes it's a no-brainer as far as city planning goes to place these resilient solar microgrids on as many rooftops as possible, especially if, as some scientists believe, global climate change is making storms like Ida hit harder and more often than normal. Cities would not only be doing their best to keep the power on, but to mitigate their share of emissions going up into the atmosphere. The St. Peter project is a shining example of how developers and cities can commit to helping find solutions to eradicating both poverty and climate change emissions that are exacerbating such storms, all in one package. Well, lovely. That was a good one. We've had some winners today, haven't we? We've had some winners in today's news. Here is another good one. And this one's about bees. French beekeeper invents a trap to take on Asian hornets, decimating bee populations in Europe. This one's short too, so we can get a video, and then I can show you my flowers from this week, which is, I'm real happy to show, by the way. I'm real happy to show that. A beekeeper was so devastated 5 years ago when all his beehives were destroyed by Asian hornets, he vowed to figure out a solution to fight back. French beekeeper Denis Jaffray thought about it night and day. and finally came up with a trap that stops the invasive species, which has no natural predators in Europe, where they have been terrorizing hives since arriving accidentally in a cargo shipment from Southeast Asia. The trap Joffre invented does no harm to bees. It attracts insects with a sugary bait using a funnel, but the larger hornets can't get out. Bees can easily escape through the tiny holes. Reuters reports that the beekeeper won an inventor's prize 3 years ago and is now manufacturing the traps using 3D printers and 6 employees, and is being flooded with orders. I mean, he should be. We gotta stop these nasty wasps, nasty hornets. See the story below from Reuters. He hopes that government will get involved so Europe can stop the spread of the so-called predatory species. So here's another video for you guys. Oops. We don't want that. Look at those bees. Bees, bees, bees. If he literally just showed us a bunch of bees and no traps, I mean, I'd be fine with that. I'd be okay with that. Oh no. This guy is gonna solve the problem though. He knows what to do. He's got the brain for it. And we need his brain to give us some help. Oh. So they're literally too thick to get out. Oh my gosh, look at that trap. Look at that thing. That looks like a Star Wars trap. A Star Wars hornet trap. Oh my gosh. It looks like a Star Wars prison cell. I love that it looks that way. And those hornets have nowhere to go. Well, I don't want to be satisfied by the failing of an animal, but certainly those hornets have been causing bees a lot of problems, so I'm not going to say I'm upset to see them curled up like that. What a cool idea. Some people are just so darn smart. Just so darn smart. But I will now get my little flower images for you guys to see in case you're interested. I didn't get your message until just now. Lily, or just try to, but no, we're not gonna talk about that. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. Look at me trying to find my my images, and we got a new one that's brought it up too just today. I'll send that one up as well. Yeah, my flowers are finally starting to bloom. Just starting right now in September. Can you believe it? It took them all to the end of summer to do it, but there we go. Okay, guys. I think you're in for a treat, because these are some great pictures, if I say so myself, which I do. I'm going to save these images to my computer, right into my little folder for all things that I love. And these ones have been growing for about 3 months altogether. But they won't be in full bloom until the end of September or early October. So pretty late in the season, which is unfortunate that I didn't get to start them until around then, but it's a little strange, but I didn't actually get the work done on them until much later than I would have liked. There we go. And then let me get my other one. Where is that one? I'll just show these three, that's fine. And then let's look at these ones. You have to forgive me for still not knowing how to do this the best that I would like to. No. I'll just do a window capture. Oh, not window capture. Excuse me. Display capture. There we go. Yeah, that's them right there. That's the first one. Oh, it's so pretty. I look at it and I'm like, I honestly, I didn't think I'd be able to make something like that. Right? There's the next one. I wish I could have gotten better in focus, but it was just so tiny. And here's the other one. This is the prettiest one, I would say. It's really pink, or almost like a saffron color. It's so hard to get them in focus though, because they're so tiny. Thank you so much, Lily. I'm glad you like that. I'm really happy with the way they turned out so far. And honestly, it took me such a long time to get that planter right that I'm just happy that they're in the ground and growing nicely. That planter was the toughest part of my summer, it feels like. But you know, we've gotten through it luckily, and even though it's been a tough summer, it's been good. So we'll just do a few more of these, then we'll go on our halfway point break. Here is 4 tuna species recovered after a decade of fishing quotas, with albacore in stores being truly sustainable, by Good News Network from the 5th of September. Four commercially fished tuna species are on a significant path to recovery, thanks to the enforcement of regional fishing regulations over the last 10 years. According to yesterday's update of the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species, today's IUCN Red List update is a powerful sign that despite increasing pressures on our oceans, species can recover if states truly commit to sustainable practices, said Dr. Bruno Oberle, IUCN Director General. States and others are now gathered at the IUCN World Conservation Congress in Marseille, France, to work towards binding targets that will increase and maintain biodiversity across the planet. The new released results on the status of commercial tunas emphasize that sustainable fisheries are possible, said Dr. Beth Polidoro, associate professor at Arizona State University and Red List coordinator. In the Red List update, the 7 most commercially fished tuna species were reassessed. 4 moved in a positive direction thanks to countries enforcing more sustainable fishing quotas and successfully combating illegal fishing. The Atlantic bluefin tuna moved from endangered to least concern. The southern bluefin tuna, the Thinus mccoyi, moved from critically endangered to endangered. Albacore, Thinus alilunga, and yellowfish tunas, Thinus albicares, both moved from near threatened to least concerned. Pacific bluefin tuna, Thinus orientalis, improved its position from vulnerable to near threatened. In this update, due to the availability of newer stock, assessment data, and models, but is still depleted. The take-home message for the general public is that things like albacore tuna, which is the one that is widely used on supermarket shelves, is of least concern now. Craig Hilton Taylor, who heads the IUCN Red List, told BBC News, "It means that what they're eating has been sustainably caught and is well managed." Despite global improvement at the species level, some regional tuna stocks remain depleted. For example, while the larger eastern population of Atlantic bluefin tuna, which originates in the Mediterranean, has increased by at least 22% over the last 4 decades, the species' smaller native western Atlantic population, which spawns in the Gulf of Mexico, has declined by more than half in the same period. These Red List assessments are proof that sustainable fisheries approaches work with enormous long-term benefits for livelihoods and biodiversity, said Dr. Bruce Collette, chair of the IUCN SSC Tuna and Billfish Group. Tuna species migrate across thousands of kilometers, so coordinating their management globally is also key. So I'm glad to hear about the fish doing better. That's certainly something. I have never in my entire life fished, not once. Though my grandpa on my father's side really liked to fish, and he would take my father out fishing, and that was some of the small amounts of closeness that they had, which is it's a wonderful thing to imagine that they had that together. Because I've never really had a fishing experience in my life. I've never really caught a big fish or put a fish back. You know what I mean? I've never done that, so I wouldn't know what that's like really. But I am happy with the idea of going fishing with somebody at some point. I suppose I want to find the right person to fish with, though. I've always had the idea of being mentored by a fishing expert, or dating someone who is a fishing expert who puts almost all their fish back. I am very much, though, interested one day in, this is a silly fantasy, having to pull with my entire body onto like a dock or the side of a ship to haul some giant tuna or some sort of ridiculously sized salmon onto a boat and then hoisting it in the air, the big catch, you could say. I feel embarrassed even admitting I want that, but maybe it's a masculine tendency I have among all the so infrequent and rare things I feel about fishing. Oh well. I don't really eat meat anymore. But if I caught a fish, and I was the one who defeated him, I was the one who faced their challenge, and I succeeded in catching them, I think that's okay because they had a chance to get off of your hook. They had a chance. And you caught them. One of the few cases of hunting I'm okay with. So, it's the halfway point, and what that means for this stream is that we go off, we stand up and we stretch out, or we go find something to do for 5 minutes, and it gives me a little break so I can drink some tea and relax, go to the bathroom myself. But we'll be gone for 5 minutes, and then in 5 minutes, we'll come on and sit back down, relax, and get right back to it. So make sure you go get yourself something to eat and drink, and go stretch out those legs, because that's what I'm gonna do. I'll be right back. And we're back. Hello everybody, I hope you had a lovely little break. Good. Very good. Okay, so we have a few animal videos that could be shown right now. I've been saving them up for a while. If anyone watching has any animals they'd like to see, I'm more than happy to show one specifically, but I'll just start playing a couple of them randomly, and then I'll keep reading good news. But if you think of one that you'd like, that you'd prefer, then let me know, and I'll play that one just for you. You have to forgive my watch laters for being full of, I guess you could say, a little bit of trashy videos, but trashy gamer videos, I might say. Here's a good one. Here's another good one. Here's a good one. There's another one. Okay. Good. There's some good ones we can watch. Oh, no. Okay. There we go. That should be good. This is cat puts herself to sleep in tiny human bed. Would you prefer squirrels? I can chase it. I do have some squirrel videos for you, Lily. Big kitty, yeah. It makes you wonder if it's a big cat or if it's a tiny bed. Aw. Most of the cat has hairs. I do like long hair cats myself, actually. I like short hair and long hair, but his hair. Aw, I like to think that they're totally like into the idea of having a little stuffed animal with them. Even cats like stuffed animals. Oh, it's so pretty with the tail. Aw. That's just the cutest thing ever. Oh, I can just do this. Okay, it's much easier. It's much easier. Look at them. Look at their big red tails. And their huge red ears. My gosh, their ears are big. Oh my gosh, look at all the squirrels that came to visit. That's fantastic. They're just so tiny. It's a good thing, in my opinion. It's a good thing to have plenty of squirrels nearby you. Surrounded by cats and squirrels, and some dogs too. Though making a friend with dogs and squirrels seems more difficult than dogs and cats, I have to say. Oh, squirrel ASMR. That's a tough one to grab. It's tough to make squirrels make noises without running away. Surrogate squirrel mom. I'd be okay being a surrogate squirrel father. I don't know how I'd do though, considering I've never even gotten near squirrel before. I've just seen them from a distance. Oh, they're storing food for the winter. It's what they do. I love when they bury it and they're like, okay, it's safe there, no one will find it. They seem so sure of themselves, you know what I mean? They're so sure that nobody's gonna come after these nuts. They're sure. I like that. Aw, furry wild squirrels. Lovely. So we have baby weasel playtime. Go hang out with a ferret, but not a weasel. Weasels are not friendly. They are not friendly. So let me go make sure I get the right one, because there's one that might be sad. I'm worried that one of these is going to show before and after photos that'll be sad. So I'm gonna make sure we skip that one. There we go. There we go. We'll do this one for a little bit. This should be good. You know, I'm always a little confused in how owls look. Oh, I know this guy. This is Robert E. Fuller. Yeah, Robert E. Fuller does some great stuff with animals. His animal videos are really good. He's got a nice, charming characters too. He's very charming. So I'll get right back to it. Boat plane hybrid that needs no runway could transform travel from LA to San Diego, Boston to New York City. I'll show you guys what this looks like too. The future of travel is bold, with a boat plane hybrid set to transform short distance ferry services. From the Virginia Hyperloop to the HAV carbon free dirigibles to self-driving cars to now this. The Regent Sea Glider is an electric transport plane that can do 180 miles per hour, or around 6 times the speed of a ferry, and with double the range of electric aircraft, but with half the manufacturing costs. All these pros are down to its unique design and essentially a trio of vehicles in one, which the company believes will seize control of a market for short flights, ferry routes, such as LA to Santa Barbara or San Francisco, or New York to Boston, with maybe Washington, D.C. thrown in there as well. When loading and offloading passengers, The sea glider rests on the sea like a normal seaplane or boat. When operating within the crowded waters of a port, the sea glider deploys its hydrofoils, matching its impressive propulsion with the maneuverability of the foils below. Camera in the tree trunk is like an owl dash cam. I love that. Once on the open sea, the foils are withdrawn and it takes on the aspects of a wing-in-ground effect vehicle, a design invented all the way back in the 1960s that uses high speeds to hover just above the surface of the water. So far, Region's founders have raised almost $10 million from investors, which have included Mark Cuban and Peter Thiel. Wing-in-ground effect vehicles are actually considered boats and subject to maritime rather than aviation laws. In this way, the Sea Glider can skirt around current technology limitations of battery-powered electric motors and offer truly zero-emissions transport. The company imagines that battery advances currently being pursued should raise the range of the Sea Glider to 500 miles from 180 miles in the not-too-distant future. The company has received statements of intent worth $465 million and have acquired the sponsor dollars of operators Brittany Ferries, Goombay Air, and Split Express, and expect to have a quarter-size prototype by the end of the year and a full-size prototype operational in 2023. So you can tell me what you think when looking at this crazy thing. Look how crazy this is. It's the future. The future of aviation, right over Robert E. Fuller's face. Don't mind me, Robert. We're just playing some awesome footage. Wow, look at this thing. Oh, it's very stylish, isn't it? Well, lovely. That's the future right there. It really is. So, that's a great one, too. We've had some great news stories today. I'm feeling quite happy about that. So, here is the next one. New cancer treatments may be on the horizon, thanks to successes in the mRNA vaccine trials, by Andy Corbley from September the 6th. Those owls are fighting. Those are some fighting owls. Gosh, they have such big, crazy eyes. A personalized mRNA vaccine given to patients with particular kinds of aggressive cancers could leverage the immune system of the patient to defeat the cancer on its own, and in doing so, usher in a new epoch of cancer treatment. Messenger RNA ribonucleic acid vaccines were what sparked the vaccines for recent problems, such as the Pfizer and Mrna vaccines, adapted the technology to create an emergency treatment to train the body to fight off viral spike proteins. What most of us won't know, however, is that the mRNA vaccines are originally developed. Oh my gosh, those birds are really going at it. For aggressive cancer types. Oh, look, it's a barn owl. Molly Cassidy and mother studying for the Arizona bar exam. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's getting a little bit too much on there, actually. After being diagnosed with head and neck cancer, she underwent surgery and chemotherapy. However, it was only 10 days after finishing chemo that she found a marble-like bump on her collarbone from the cancer's swift return. Later examinations found it had spread from her ear all the way to the rest of her body, and she was told that this was going to be a big problem. She then became eligible to join a clinical trial at the University of Arizona testing an mRNA vaccine personalized to the cancer mutations of the host. By 27 weeks, Cassidy had received 9 vaccine doses paired with the immunotherapy drug, and her CT scans were clear. The cancer had left her body. A personalized medicine approach to disease is challenging. However, it could be said that the rise of cancer and of so many other diseases across the West is a result of a broader Western health sector adopting a one-size-fits-all approach to everything from cancer to diet to mental health. Precision or personalized medicine is becoming a little more common. Let's see, which one is this? This is a cat stuck in the tire. There we go. Aww. Precision or personalized medicine is becoming a little more common now, with many functional medicine clinics paying more attention to genetic phenotypes and other biomarkers before drafting a therapy plan. This approach recently broke ground in a huge way in the field of Alzheimer's, and the USDA is using artificial intelligence based on demographics and other information to make more precise dietary guidelines. Tailor-made mRNA vaccines are an exciting form of personalized medicine to treat cancer and involve taking a tissue sample from the patient's tumor and analyzing it for mutations. This is not only honing in the immune system on the cancerous cells, but differentiates them from healthy, non-cancerous ones. The result is that the messenger RNA creates protein shed from the exterior of the tumor and brings immune cells like T cells up to the speed on how to fight. One of the few things cancer does is it can turn on signals to tell the immune system to quiet down so the cancer is not detected, explains Daniel Anderson, a biotech scientist at MIT. The goal of an mRNA vaccine is to alert and gear up the immune system to go after the characteristics featured on tumor cells and attack them. Currently, phase 1 clinical trials are running from metastatic melanoma. One of the most exciting things, even in this early days of mRNA cancer vaccines, is that they will offer a chance at survival for advanced and incurable cancers, not only because they have the potential to be effective in all patients, but also ones like Cassidy, who seem to have no other options. It's likely that personalized mRNA vaccines will be in practice and paired with immune checkpoints. I like this one with the cat therapy, a breakthrough class of treatment that won the Nobel Prize in 2018, similar to stem cell treatment. A patient's T cells are drawn out before being multiplied in a lab, trained on the target cancer cell, and then reintroduced to help fight off the cancer. Some animal studies have had success in this way, with one group of rats fighting off triple-negative breast cancer. Another group showing great success, that cat's falling asleep, great success against cancer of lymph nodes. National Geographic concluded their features on mRNA vaccines with a suggestion that based on early success, FDA approval could be given in around 5 years. That cat's gonna go any minute. He's trying. No, he's trying. Here's another one. When walked on, these wooden floors harvest enough energy to turn on a light bulb. He's just trying to stay awake. Aw, what a cute little boy. Researchers from Switzerland are tapping into an unexpected energy source right under our feet. Wooden floorings. Their nano generator enables wood to generate energy from our footfalls. They also improved the wood using their nano generators with a combination of a silicone coating and embedded nanocrystals, resulting in a device that was 80 times more efficient, enough to power LED light bulbs and small electronics. Aww. Do cats close their eyes all the way when they sleep? Oh, they do. Okay, he's closing his eyes all the way. All right. I wasn't sure for a second. Yes, okay, I figured, but I wasn't sure. The team began by transforming wood into a nano generator by sandwiching two pieces of functionalized wood between electrodes. Dogs do too. Okay, cool. Like a shirt, clinging sock, fresh. Okay. I understand what they're saying. Like a shirt clinging sock fresh out of the dryer, the wood pieces become electronically charged. Aw, what a cutie. What a little cutie. Like a shirt clinging sock fresh out of the dryer, the wood pieces become electrically charged through periodic contacts and separations when stepped on. A phenomenon called the triboelectric effect occurs. The electrons can transfer from one object to another, generating electricity. However, there's one problem with making a nano generator out of wood. Actually, I don't think I want that one. Just seeing what it was just then, I'm like, you know what? Let's go for a different one. There we go, that should be good. Oh, little tiny crocs. So many little boys and girls all trying to get their snacks at once. Wood is basically triboneutral, says senior author Guido Panzarasa, group leader in the Professorship of Wood Materials Science. It means that wood has no real tendency to acquire or to lose electrons. That limits the material's ability to generate electricity because of it. So the challenge is making wood that is able to attract and lose electrons. Panzarasa explains, to boost wood's triboelectric properties, the scientists coated one piece of the wood with polydimethylsiloxane. Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. A silicone that gains electrons upon contact, while functionalizing the other piece of wood with in situ grown nanocrystals called zeolitic imidaxolate frameworks. Oh my gosh, they're really challenging me with these ones. A hybrid network of metal ions and organic molecules has a higher tendency to lose electrons. They also tested different types of wood. Aww. Oh, little cutie. Climbing up on her back. They also tested different types of wood to determine whether certain species of the direction in which wood is cut could influence or triboelectric properties by serving as a better scaffold for the coating. Oh my gosh. Having your hair groomed by a wild bobcat, basically. Together, the treatments boosted the triboelectric nanogenerator's performance. It generated 880 times more electricity than natural wood. The device's electricity output was also stable under steady forces for up to 1,500 cycles. The researchers found that a wood flooring prototype with a surface area slightly smaller than a piece of paper can produce enough energy to drive a household LED lamps and small electronic devices such as calculators. They successfully lit up a light bulb with the prototype when a human adult walked upon it, turning footsteps into electricity. Our focus was to demonstrate the possibility of modifying wood with relatively environmentally friendly procedures to make it triboelectric, says Penzorasa. Spruce is cheap and available and has favorable mechanical properties. The functionalization approach is quite simple, and it can be scalable on an industrial level. It's only a matter of engineering. Aw, look at that terrier. What a cutie. Besides being efficient, sustainable, and scalable, the newly developed nanogenerator is also preserving the features that make wood useful for interior design, including its mechanical robustness and warm colors. The researchers say that these features might help promote the use of wood nanogenerators as green energy sources in smart buildings. They also say that wood construction could help mitigate climate change by sequestering CO2 from the environment throughout the material's lifespan. The next step for Penzorasa and his team, whose work has been published in Matter Journal, is to further optimize the nanogenerator with chemical coatings that are much more eco-friendly and easier to implement. Even though we initially focused on basic research, eventually, the research that we do should lead to applications in the real world, says Penzorasa. The ultimate goal is to understand the potentials of wood beyond that is already known, and to enable wood with new properties for future sustainable smart buildings. So I have to say, almost every single one of these stories has been awesome so far. I've really liked all of them this week. I have to say, this is a favorite of mine so far, this one. Honkin' boy and his honkin' brother. Oh, look at those two. So here's a good one. Dogs know when you're acting intentionally, researchers find. This is from Good News Network from September the 7th. Dogs can tell the difference between deliberate actions and mistakes, say scientists. It adds growing evidence to the idea that man's best friend knows just how we're feeling. First author, Dr. Mrna Vaccines, said, "The dogs in our study clearly behave differently depending on whether the actions of a human experimenter were intentional or unintentional. Dogs have bonded with people over thousands of years. Obeying every sit, lay down, and roll over command is just one such skill. But whether they understand intentions or merely respond to outcomes remains unclear." This is a basic component of theory of mind, long regarded as uniquely human. It's the ability to attribute mental states to oneself and others, and dogs have it too. They can tell the difference between something done on purpose or by accident. Dr. Schoenemann of Göttingen University and colleagues tested how they reacted when food rewards were withheld. Okay, good. The researchers found the animals behave differently depending on whether the actions of the experimenter were intentional or unintentional. It shows dogs can distinguish between actions that were done on purpose or accidentally. To reach their conclusions, the German team conducted an experiment using the unable versus unwilling paradigm. It works by examining whether test subjects react differently towards a human experimenter. They either intentionally, the unwilling condition, or unintentionally, the unable condition, withhold treats. Oh, look at that little guy. Oh, a squirrel at the beach. So, I think a squirrel at the beach, this must be crazy for them. I mean, they'll never get to go there otherwise, right? Each animal was separated from the human tester by a transparent barrier. It was fed pieces of dog food through a gap. In the unwilling condition, the experimenter suddenly withdrew the reward through the gap in the barrier and placed it in front of herself. In the unable, clumsy condition, the experimenter brought the reward to the gap and tried to pass it through, but then accidentally dropped it. In the unable, blocked condition, the experimenter again tried to give the dog a reward, but she was unable to because the gap was blocked. In all conditions, the reward remained on the tester's side of the barrier. Co-author Dr. Julian Brauer of Max Planck Institute of the Science of Human History said, if dogs are indeed able to ascribe intention in action to humans, we would expect them to show different reactions in the unwilling condition compared to the two unable conditions. As it turns out, this is exactly what we observed. The primary behavior measured by the researchers was the time dogs waited before approaching the reward they were denied. Oh, wow, I never would have thought of that. If dogs are able to identify human intentions, they would wait longer before approaching the reward in the unwilling condition, where they were not supposed to have the reward, than in the two unable conditions in which the reward was in fact meant for them. Not only did the dogs wait longer in the unwilling condition than in the unable conditions, they were also more likely to sit or lie down, actions often interpreted as appeasing behaviors, and stop wagging their tails. Co-author Dr. Hans Rakaxi, also from Göttingen, said this suggests dogs may indeed be able to identify humans' intention in action. The findings in scientific reports suggest dogs may have at least one aspect of theory of mind, the capacity to recognize intention in action, said the researchers. Previous studies have found dogs can tell the difference between happy and angry faces. They also process language in very similar ways to humans, picking out emotional tone, intonation, and volume changes that influence meaning. Experts think dogs have gradually evolved over 30,000 years to understand humans. Selective breeding has meant those which could communicate better with their owners were preferred, encouraging the trait to become more pronounced over time. A squirrel as a pet, that's great. Okay, so here's a story that I was looking forward to. And then we're going to move on back to our cozy bedroom. So this is a good one, folks. I'm going to put this right on the screen here. 100-year-old grandma sets Guinness World Record as a powerlifter and continues winning trophies. Reaching the age of 100 in good health and good spirits is an accomplishment in its own right, but training to take home your next weightlifting trophy truly takes the cake. At the ages of 98 years and 94 days, great-great-grandmother Edith Mrna already had a Guinness World Record as the oldest female competitive powerlifter under her belt. She could already do that, and she successfully deadlifted 150 pounds to do that. Trina's storied win will be featured in the Guinness World Records 2022 edition already. As a former dance instructor and performer, physical fitness was always a way of life for the Bronx-born Florida transplant. But considering she took up weightlifting a scant 9 years ago, the progress Trina has made is truly impressive, especially since discovering her newfound avocation was pretty much a happy accident. Trina was tagging along with pal Carmen Gutworth, who'd cajoled her into accompanying her to the gym to try out some new exercises. She didn't want to go by herself, Mrna Trina told the New York Post. She dragged me kicking and screaming all the way. So that's more or less how I got there. I saw all these other ladies lifting weights, and it looked interesting. I picked up a couple of weights and had to prove to myself that I could accomplish this. While Gutworth disputes her friend's version of events, you can't drag Edith anywhere, she jokingly told GWR. Edith kept going because she always keeps going. She will not quit. And anything that's hard, that makes her more determined. If it's easy, she might get bored, but if it's hard, she's going to do it. Nobody's going to tell her, oh, that's too hard for me. Once she got started, Trina turned out to be a natural, and soon enough, she was on the team, competing in senior events and bringing home accolades and awards. When you pull a bar up and you lift it, there's a certain power that you experience that is only yours. It belongs to you, she told the Post. Trina admits that harking back to her days as an entertainer, a great deal of her motivation has to do with how much she enjoys being in the limelight and the positive feedback she's received. She says that every time she'd compete, she'd get applause, and every time she'd get applause, she'd get a little bit happier. At the onset of recent events, Trina's doctor sent her to the sidelines, but she returned to the gym as soon as she got the green light. She's now back in training with a coach, Bill Beakley, nice name, working hard to make up for lost time and get back in shape for the upcoming November competition, at which she hopes to bring home yet another winner's cup to add to her collection. Trina also appreciates that her current notoriety largely has to do with her advanced age, but as long as she can be a positive role model who blows the sweet little old lady stereotype out of the water, she's good with that. I think in my 90s, I became more aware of the need for people to be recognized for who they are, or what they are, or how they are. It's the most beautiful thing in the world, she told GWR. I think I survive on that mostly myself. That, some well-deserved applause, and her next trophy, of course. Look at this lady go. She's 99, and she can lift it. Bah! Ah! Look at that guy in the background. He's like, oh my gosh, is she really doing that? He's like, do you need help? And she's like, no, I got it. Look at her go. Look at her go. She's just lifting weights. This is what she does. Man, what an absolute unit. I hope I can be in that good of a shape at age 100. Oh my gosh, I really love all the stories that we've got tonight. Okay, we've got a few more left, so we'll see how many we can get through. This one's pretty short. I'm not sure I want to do it, though, to be honest with you. It might be sad. And we'll see where it goes. Firefighters finally reached deaf dog trapped in storm drain after 10 hours of trying. If you judge a city's heart by how much they're willing to go the extra mile even for its non-human citizens, Arlington in Texas recently proved that things are really bigger in the Lone Star State. When Zoe, a 15-year-old deaf lab mix, wandered away from her home, practically the whole community turned out to help find her. I had put on Nextdoor app we were missing our dog, and people were like, here's my number, call me, and then we'll come help you find her. Dog mom Andrea Tankersley told WFAA. The difficult part is she's deaf, dog dad Mrna Tankersley added. So we're calling out to her, but of course knowing it's not going to do any good, but you can't help it. Searchers reported hearing dog sounds, but were unable to figure out where they were coming from. 2 days later, city water crews homing in on her echoing barks located Zoe trapped in a muddy storm drain under a city street. A water department camera was set up to monitor Zoe's condition in the tunnel as a Herculean rescue effort coordinated by Arlington's fire department team, police, paramedics, and city workers was quickly mounted to free the trapped canine. Using jackhammers, pneumatic saws, and heavy equipment, crews worked tirelessly in extreme heat conditions to break up the pavement and dig down to the concrete drain pipe below. Through the excavations, neighbors supplied workers with food and beverages to keep them going. Nearly 10 hours later, a section of the top of the culvert was lifted away to reveal the watery channel. Once they had access, rescuers still had to come up with a way to get Zoe safely out of the confined tunnel space. When one firefighter posed the idea of rolling her out with a skateboard, a kindergartner named Hunter volunteered his board for the cause. What a lad. Attaboy, Hunter. The skateboard, autographed by the fire and police personnel who helped out in the rescue, is said to be presented back to the little boy with a big thank you from everyone involved. At 11 hours and counting, rescuers finally pulled Zoe from the concrete pipe, to cheers and applause from an elated crowd of onlookers. The pooped pooch was passed, bucket brigade style, up to the street where awaiting emergency workers assessed her and then reunited her with the Tankersleys and their kids. Amazingly, although she was scuffed and understandably distressed, Zoe suffered no major ill effects from her ordeal, and after getting an all clear from the vet, is happy to be back home. It's been amazing, Police Officer Christy Whale, who was on the scene, told WFAA. Everyone has been so helpful. There have been cheers of joy and tears when Zoe was rescued. I love seeing the community turn out and cheer a successful end to this, and for a family to have their beloved pet returned to them at the end of the day. We're glad this doggone dog, found deep in the heart of Texas tale, had a happy ending too. Let's go see what this was like. Oh my gosh, look at her. She got out. So there are so many stories of dogs going missing and not coming home, and animals too, of all kinds. And it is amazing to think that one got lost in such a crazy way, getting lost in a sewer drain, right? And they were like, well, we're going to get that dog out. We're getting them out. And they had to go all out for it. Look at them working hard. And they get in there, like, okay, we gotta get this dog out. We're going in. And they're probably like, there's no way this is gonna, like, how can they do all this? You know, there's like, if anyone can do it though, it's these folks. Oh, look at them. They got the dog. They've done it. Oh, look at them. Gosh. This is like the most wholesome episode we've had in a long time. Oh, man. That's great. Wow. So, here's a few more. These ones are getting pretty short, so it's probably going to be okay. An epic adventure few have heard of. The Great Loop circles the eastern U.S. on waterways never far from shore. Most tours across America tend to involve a long series of flights or a road trip of 16-hour driving days, plotting a course between as many national parks as possible in a camper van. The Great Loop, traversed by only 200 Americans per year, however, is another excellent way to see the country. A 6,000-mile journey circumnavigating the entire eastern United States and Canada. The journey ditches the car or the plane for the boat. It turns out that in 1898, three 18-year-olds discovered that it was possible to, without ever going out to sea, travel from the Great Lakes region out to the Thousand Islands past Montreal before snacking down on a myriad of canals, sounds, and waterways across the mid-Atlantic, using Florida as the gateway to the Gulf of Mexico, where turning north one can go pass up the rivers of central North America to return again to the starting line. It was in the time of the Founding Fathers that the Great Loop was envisioned. George Washington had an eye on connecting territories more easily across the vast newly minted country. Many of the surveys he commissioned led to the creation of canals and artificial waterways that make the loop possible. However, it wasn't until Ken Ransom, a sailor who grew up fearing the waves in Lake Michigan, that America's great nautical maze was mapped. Departing in a sailboat built by himself and his two friends, he went the whole way, despite multiple challenges. Like Ransom, sailors of the Great Loop today will tell you the challenges are part of the fun. Whereas most long nautical pleasure journeys typically take place in the ocean, the myriad of habitats one must navigate to finish the Great Loop make it a lot more special and safer, while also presenting different challenges. Beautiful landscapes roll past you on the shores either side of your journey, such as the old city of Montreal, the Great Dismal Swamp, the Florida Keys, Virginia's Albemarle Sound, or the mountain-studded shores of Lake Champlain. Boat US explains that the Great Loop takes anywhere from 6 months to 1 year to complete, but nevertheless offers select sections called mini-loops, wherein a US sailing enthusiast, or perhaps a visiting British canal boat lover, can enjoy a several-day slice. The Triangle Loop traverses Canada and the US, using the Hudson River as the start and finish, while passing the Erie Canal, Lake Champlain, Montreal, Lake Ontario, and the scenic Thousand Isles. Another mini-loop is the Florida Loop, which passes Lake Okeechobee and the Atlantic coast before arriving at the Florida Keys, up the Gulf to the Pine Island, Fort Myers, and Caloosahatchee Canal. I love the names of these shores, and the names of lakes and stuff like that. They're always so cute, and I like them a lot. One of my favorite things is these crazy lake names. Okay, folks, so we're going down to our last few stories here. I'm going to see which ones I like the most so we can choose one to hang on to before we get going. Oh my gosh. We just had so many good stories today. Here's one that I liked. Workers discover a stash of 239 rare gold coins hidden in walls of French mansion, and they get to share half. Renovating an old home will always produce surprises, but sometimes the discovery is a treasure that could fund the entire project. 3 stonemasons working on a centuries-old estate purchased by a couple in 2012 in Pleasevent, Brittany, found a hidden metal box embedded in a wall. They were shocked to find it stuffed with rare gold coins minted during the reigns of French kings Louis that's the 13th, and Louis the 14th. 63-year-old Francois Mion, who owns the 13th century mansion with his wife, decided to turn the barn into a living space. I know, right? Wow. And he got a call from his foreman. He thought it was a joke. Then a few days later, above a beam, they discovered a bag containing another stash, which added to the grand total of 239 gold coins. Gold coins, my gosh. The cash is being put up for auction on September 29th, says Ivor Auction House, which estimates them to be worth well over €250,000, somewhere in the 300,000 area. The couple submitted the trove to the Regional Preventive Archaeology Service for authenticating and analyzing. They determined that the last known inhabitants of the mansion dates back to the mid-18th century, owned probably by wealthy landowners, possibly traders, involved in the transport of Bordeaux wines to England. French law states that the haul will be shared 50-50 between the owners of the property and those who discovered the coins. So the trio of stonemasons are likely lifting a glass to toast their luck. Let's take a look at this video they've got. The shimmering and shining of gold coins. Very few can resist the feeling of their luster. I don't know if I'm one of them. Honestly, gold coins are pretty cool. But not chocolate gold coins. Those always disappoint me. I've never liked chocolate enough to put it in a gold coin. Equal to $354,441 in the United States. That's a pretty penny. It's a very pretty penny. Honestly, that is a very pretty penny. I don't think they're going to show us the spot they found it in, though, honestly. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it either. Look at these coins. And then the coins were then sold, and who knows what happens next. But that has been our show for today. We have had some great stories. I have been really happy with how this went. I want to say thank you to Destrida Lily, specifically. Thank you to Playful. Thank you to Ella, who is still, who's still going through a rough time, but decided to show up despite that. And thank you to everybody else in chat who decided to stick around and enjoy themselves. This show takes place every week at 7:30 p.m. CST, but it's really not that much of a fun show without you guys here enjoying it with me. So what I can say is you guys are something special. Every time that I worry about enjoying the next show, you show up and you make it not even a question. And I say it enough, but you guys make it worth whatever problems I run into. You make it worth it. I'm glad you have fun, though, Playfuls. I do it for you folks. And this is really, really great. I hope that we can have as many good news stories next week and the week after, too. So I will wish all of you a lovely Saturday night. And if you'd like to come over tomorrow, we're doing another show. Same time with me and Playful, the greatest moderator on our channel and the only moderator on our channel. And we will be talking about, I don't know what yet. Maybe we'll talk about treasure. That might be a good one. Treasure. Think about that one, Playful. Think about some treasure. And as always, you guys have a very safe night. Have a lovely weekend. Get some good sleep tonight. And take care. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.